Nightfall in London, 1941. The air vibrates with the ominous drone of incoming bombers. In a dimly lit rooftop lookout, Clementine Churchill grips a cold metal railing. She scans the dark skies as searchlights crisscross overhead. The smell of smoke and smoldering rubble clings to the wind. Suddenly, a shrill whistle cuts through the air. Boom! An explosion in the distance flashes orange against the skyline. The building under Clementine's feet shudders. Dust cascades from the rooftop access door. Clementine's heart thuds. She steadies her tin helmet with one hand and fights the instinct to flee. Below on the street, an elderly woman cries out in panic, stumbling as she tries to run for shelter. Clementine does not hesitate. She rushes down the iron ladder. Clementine, resolute, calling out.
This way, dear. Take my hand.
She reaches the terrified woman and gently guides her toward a sandbag-reinforced basement entrance. The acrid taste of plaster dust fills Clementine's mouth as another bomb rocks the ground, but her voice remains calm and reassuring.
We will be safe soon. I am right here with you.
Inside the cramped shelter, in near darkness, Clementine wraps her arm around the stranger, holding her close as debris rattles above. In that moment, fear wrestles with duty inside Clementine's chest. She is the Prime Minister's wife. Some say she should be hiding in the country, but here she is on the front lines of the Blitz, a volunteer fire watcher determined to share the danger of her people. As the bombing continues, she keeps whispering to herself, "Stay strong. They need you to be strong." After a long minute, the bombing moves farther north. The all-clear signal has not sounded yet, but an eerie lull falls. The only sound is the two women's breathing in the dark. Clementine's arms tremble around the sobbing grandmother, yet she holds firm. Her own mind drifts to her husband, Winston Churchill, likely hunched in an underground war room at this very hour. If he can stand steady through this storm, she vows silently, then so can I. To understand how Clementine became this steady beacon of courage, the woman willing to risk everything in Britain's darkest hour, we have to go back to the beginning of her story. Hello, and welcome to The Kingmakers, the podcast about the hidden heroes behind historic figures. I am your host, Romeo Richards, CEO of the African Caribbean Matchmaking Agency. We help Black singles become the best version of themselves and connect them with other high-quality Black singles. In this series, we shine a light on the spouses and partners who have helped great leaders reach their heights, the husbands, wives, friends, and loved ones who quietly turn dreamers into kings and queens. Our mission is simple: to uncover the untold stories of how the right partner, aligned with one's dreams and values, can change the trajectory of a life and even history. In each episode, we dive into an intimate, story-driven portrait of a famous figure's other half, distilling lessons on love, support, and personal growth. Whether you are a values-driven single seeking your ideal teammate or someone reflecting on the power of relationships in your own life, this podcast offers insight, inspiration, and yes, a few tears and laughs along the way. Great stories blend both joy and sorrow. The Kingmakers is about hope and optimism in relationships, the earnest belief that the right partner can help you become more fully yourself and accomplish more than you ever dreamed alone. Before we dive into today's story, I want to invite you to do something personal. Think of someone in your life who has been a kingmaker for you, someone who believed in you, supported you, or challenged you in a way that changed your life's direction for the better. It might be a spouse or romantic partner, but it could just as well be a family member, a close friend, or a mentor. Hold that person in your mind as you listen. Maybe even dedicate this episode to them in your heart. Great achievements rarely happen in isolation. If you have a queen or kingmaker in your life, consider reaching out to thank them. Write down their name and your message of gratitude in the comment below to let them know you are dedicating this series to them. One more note. This podcast is for education and inspiration, not therapy or professional advice. We are discussing real relationships and personal journeys, which can stir strong emotions. If any story brings up personal distress, please seek support from a qualified mental health professional. Take care of yourself. These stories are meant to inspire hope, not cause harm. Now, let's step into our next Kingmaker story. Today's Kingmaker is Clementine Churchill, the steadfast heart behind Britain's wartime leader. It is a story of love, sacrifice, and extraordinary loyalty and courage. It is 1889 in a drafty townhouse in London. Little Clementine Hosier, 6 years old, hides at the top of a staircase, peeking through the railing. Down below, voices crash like thunder. Lady Blanche, agitated, shouts at her husband,
"How dare you accuse me, after all you have done?"
"I want nothing more to do with this family."
Clementine's parents, Lady Blanche and Sir Henry Hosier, fling cruel accusations of infidelity. The truth is, both have been unfaithful. Amid this storm of anger, Clementine trembles, clutching a worn porcelain doll. She does not fully understand, but she feels the dread. In a final furious outburst, Sir Henry slams the door and vanishes from her life. At just 6 years old, Clementine watches her father walk away, never to return. For a long time, she is haunted by the feeling she might have been responsible. Her constant internal monologue becomes, "Was it my fault?" Her mother, Lady Blanche, is left nearly penniless. Rumors swirl that Sir Henry might not even be Clementine's real father, that she was born of an illicit liaison with a dashing horseman, Captain William Bay Middleton. Scandal clings to the family name. For Clementine, it means instability and whispers everywhere. Lady Blanche, desperate and proud, moves with her children from one cheap lodging to the next, avoiding creditors and gossip. By gaslight in chilly rented rooms, Clementine learns to sleep in strange beds, her small chest tight with uncertainty. She becomes a second mother to her younger siblings, trying to bring comfort where her own is absent, but tragedy strikes. In 1900, Clementine's beloved older sister Kitty falls ill with typhoid. 14-year-old Clementine is sent away to Scotland with her sister Nellie, kept ignorant of how dire Kitty's condition truly is. One rainy March morning, a telegram arrives. Kitty has died. Clementine sinks to the floor, the telegram crumpling in her fist. Kitty, her closest confidant, gone. The loss hollows her. Loneliness becomes a familiar companion, and with it, a steely resilience born of surviving heartbreak. By her late teens, she is elegant and sharp-witted, but still carrying those childhood scars, the nagging fear of abandonment, the longing for stability. She steps into Edwardian society with trepidation. Thanks to a well-connected aunt, she is presented at court, attending glittering balls under chandeliers. Few know the truth of her impoverished upbringing. She wears a borrowed gown and a brave face. She endures trivial conversations and false smiles, secretly wondering if any of it could bring her the sense of belonging she has never had. She entertains a couple of serious suitors, even becomes engaged twice, but each time something holds her back and the engagements quietly dissolve. She yearns for a partner who sees beyond the polite facade, someone who respects her fiery mind and loyal heart. Then, in the summer of 1908, at a country house dinner party, fate intervenes. Clementine, now 23, is seated next to an awkward but ambitious young parliamentarian, Winston Churchill, age 33. She recalls meeting him once, 4 years earlier. Back then he had barely said a word to her, just stared and blushed. But tonight is different. Winston, recently elevated in government, is captivated by her presence. They talk and talk.
I must admit, Miss Hosier, your argument about trade unions is quite incisive.
Surprised that a woman has strong opinions, Mr. Churchill?
Delighted. And please call me Winston.
They stroll onto the moonlit terrace after dinner. The other guests fade away. Under an oak tree, Winston finds himself confessing hopes and fears he shares with no one, his drive to make a mark on history, his insecurities from a difficult youth. She listens, eyes shining. She responds not just with flattery, but with thoughtful challenges to his ideas. He is enthralled by her intellect and warmth. She, in turn, senses the wounded soul beneath his brash exterior, a vulnerability that mirrors her own. When he gazes at her, she feels seen.
Clementine, I feel as if I have known you forever.
Perhaps we were just waiting to find each other.
Their courtship is a thunderbolt. Within weeks, he writes to her daily, each letter more ardent than the last. He invites her to his ancestral home, Blenheim Palace. One golden August afternoon, beside a temple by a lake, his voice trembles with uncharacteristic nervousness as he says to her,
I cannot imagine my life without you. Will you marry me, Clementine?
Clementine's eyes swell with tears of joy. She answers by simply throwing her arms around him, whispering,
Yes, yes, Winston, always yes.
They marry in September 1908. The society pages marvel at the brilliant rising politician and his elegant bride. What the papers don't see is the deep emotional bond already forged between them. Strong-willed and passionate, they promise to stand together through whatever comes. In private, they even adopt playful pet names. She calls him Pug, he calls her Cat, small tokens of intimacy that soften the edges of their intense lives. Yet, as years pass, the whatever comes turns out to be more than they ever imagined. In 1915, as World War I ravages Europe, Winston, now First Lord of the Admiralty, has thrown his imagination and reputation behind a grand gamble, the Gallipoli campaign. He believes striking at the Dardanelles will break the bloody stalemate, but it becomes a nightmare. The operation fails disastrously, tens of thousands of young men cut down on unforgiving foreign shores. News of the calamity hits London like a gut punch. Winston is blamed for the debacle and forced to resign his post. He returns home that night, slumps in an armchair, face in his hands. Crumpled newspapers litter the floor, their headlines shouting of the Gallipoli disaster. Across the room, Clementine watches her husband in silence. She plays with the gold locket on her neck, but she keeps her gaze steady. Then Winston finally breaks the silence.
Dardanelles, Gallipoli, fiasco. I am finished, Clemmy. The whole empire calls for my head.
He lifts a paper, reading bitterly.
Churchill's folly, they are not wrong. I have ruined my career and butchered good men, all for nothing.
His voice cracks with despair his wife has never heard before. The proud, indomitable man, the British bulldog in the making, is now a shadow, haunted by failure. Clementine feels her heart twist, but she steps forward calmly. She knows she must be stronger than ever, for both their sakes. She is firm but gentle.
Look at me, Winston.
She kneels beside him, placing a hand on his arm.
This is not the end. You stumbled, yes, but you are not defeated. The world has not heard the last of Winston Churchill.
Shaking his head, Eyes-Weather lifts his head and whispers.
They have. I have been cast out of the Admiralty. My name is disgraced. What more can I do? I am a politician without a post, a failure.
Tone sharpening, determined to cut through his despair, Clementine interrupted.
Then fight, my love. If they deny you a post here, make one for yourself out there.
Winston meeting her eyes, puzzled.
Out where?
At the front, in France. You are still an officer at heart. Go and fight shoulder to shoulder with the soldiers. Prove to them, prove to yourself that Gallipoli has not broken you.
Winston blinks in surprise at her suggestion. The flicker of a long-forgotten spark lights in his eyes, but just as quickly it dims. He stands abruptly, turning away, grimacing.
Leave Parliament and take up a command, like some schoolboy running off to war to escape his problems? They will call it a stunt. Say I am just chasing glory. And what if?
His voice drops.
What if I get them killed too? More letters from mothers and wives? Because of me.
She rises to her feet. She will not let him sink into self-pity. Crossing to his side, she reaches out and gently cups his face, guiding his anguished gaze to meet hers. She speaks softly.
Winston, do you remember India, where you charged through Pashtun gunfire without a second thought? And the Sudan Omdurman, when you rode in with the 21st Lancers straight into the storm of spears and bullets?
Her voice trembles not with fear, but with passion.
You were fearless even then. It is who you are, Winston.
His eyes search hers. He does remember. Fragments of youthful fire flicker in his mind. She takes a breath, and her tone deepens, knowing exactly what will stir his soul.
And South Africa, Boer War.
She steps back, her eyes shining as she vividly recalls the tale he once told her late into the night.
You were captured, a prisoner of war at 25. Everyone thought you doomed or lost, but not you. You refused to be broken.
The room seems to dim as her words conjure the past. Going down memory lane, South Africa, 1899. Young Winston stands in a moonlit prison yard in Pretoria, heart pounding.
Picture it, darling. A cold December night behind enemy lines. While the guards are not watching, you scale a high brick wall and drop to freedom beyond. Flash back to that fateful day and see young Winston scrambling over the prison fence, landing hard in the dirt outside, pausing, breath visible in the frigid air. With almost nothing, just determination blazing in your chest. No map, no compass, only a few slabs of chocolate and a dry biscuit in your pocket. You touch your pocket, feeling the meager rations. But you had something else, something far greater than the ration, the iron will to survive. You trekked 300 miles across enemy territory, hiding by day, moving by night, moving stealthily through the bush under starlight, flinching at every snapping twig. By day you lie cramped in brush, lips cracked with thirst, listening to distant shouts of Boer search parties. Posters with your face go up across the countryside, wanted dead or alive. They hunted you, an entire nation's army on your heels. But you outfoxed them at every turn. Hungry, exhausted, alone, you never gave in. Clothes torn and dusty, you creep to the edge of a farmstead at dusk. Desperate, you knock on a wooden door, fully prepared to be betrayed or shot. The door creaks open, and an Englishman's voice invites you inside. You exhale a breath of profound relief. When you were nearly spent, you risked knocking on a stranger's door. And by the grace of God, an Englishman answered. Mr. Howard, a miner, did not turn you in. He hid you deep in his coal mine for days. In pitch blackness, you crouch in a cramped mine shaft. The air is thick and stale. Tiny claws skitter over your boots rats. You stiffen, suppressing a shudder as one brushes against your hand. Still, you do not cry out. You wait, silent and resolved in the dark, revolver in hand and hope in your heart. Rats for company in the black of night. But you endured it, and when the moment came, Mr. Howard smuggled you onto a freight train, concealed among sacks of coal. You hold your breath as the train lurches forward. Hours later, after endless tense miles, the train crosses a river under the African sun. On the far bank flaps a red, white, and blue Union Jack. British territory. Freedom. You leap down, staggering but victorious, eyes shining with triumph and tears. You made it to safety. Escaped against all odds, the world read the news in astonishment. Winston Churchill, the reckless young war correspondent, had defied fate itself.
Winston's chest heaves as he remembers the glory of that escape, the taste of victory snatched from certain defeat. Clementine steps closer, her hand over his heart now, feeling it hammer with emotion. Her voice drops to a near whisper, each word throbbing with meaning.
That is who you are, Winston. A man who dares the impossible and wins. A man who does not quit when the world is against him. Gallipoli was a tragedy, yes, but it will not be your epitaph unless you let it.
Clemmy,
Speaking faster with urgent and fierce love in her eyes, she continued,
Go to France. Redeem yourself in battle, not for vanity, but for those men we lost, for the country. Show them you are more than one failed campaign.
She manages a tiny, wry smile.
Show yourself.
Winston's eyes fill, not with sorrow now, but with a rekindled fire. He gently takes her hand from his chest and presses it to his lips.
you truly believe I can do it, even after all this?
She said softly.
I have never stopped believing it, not for one moment.
He pulls her into a tight embrace. In her arms, he straightens to his full height, shoulders set with purpose. The decision is made. Winston Churchill will go to war as a soldier once more. A few weeks later, Victoria Station, London, January 1916. Steam from the locomotive drifts through the cold morning air. Soldiers in khaki bustle about with kit bags, boarding for France. Clementine stands close to Winston, adjusting the collar of his newly issued army tunic with steady hands. She pins a small good luck charm inside it. Their children and a few close friends linger a respectful distance away, giving the couple a private moment. Winston said jokingly, attempting to cheer her up.
Duty calls, and I must obey.
He tries a brave smile, but his voice betrays both excitement and anxiety. Clementine smiling bravely in return.
Colonel Churchill, reporting for duty.
She straightens his lapel with a wife's tender fussiness.
You look as dashing as the day I met you.
They share a soft laugh, but as the train whistle shrills, Clementine's facade cracks slightly. She blinks quickly, fighting tears. Winston notices and gently tilts her chin up.
I will be back, Clemmy. This is not goodbye, just au revoir.
Clementine finally letting a tear roll down her cheek.
Just promise me one thing.
Anything.
Stay until you have done what you set out to do. Do not come back a moment too soon. Not until they see your worth, until England herself calls you home.
Her voice wavers as emotion and fear surge.
And then come back to me. Come back safe.
Winston's eyes shine as he understands the depth of her resolve and her worry. She is sending him off to war to save his reputation, even if it breaks her heart with fear. He nods solemnly.
I promise. I won't return until I can do so with honor restored, or at all.
Clementine said quickly, fiercely.
No, don't say that. You will come home with your shield not on it.
She clasps his hands tightly, composing herself. Her voice turns almost playful to mask the dread.
After all, who else will put up with you, if not me?
Winston chuckles softly.
They broke the mold with you, my love.
The final boarding call is announced. He sweeps her into one last embrace. Both cling a second longer than they should, neither wanting to let go. At last, he pulls back. He gently kisses her forehead.
Until I see you again, God bless you, Clemmy.
God protect you, my darling.
He turns and strides to the train, spine straight, a soldier once more. She holds her ground, smiling and waving as he leans out of the carriage window. The engine chuffs and the train begins to move. He tips his hat to her, that old impish glint back in his eyes. She waves until he is out of sight. Only when the train has vanished in the morning haze does she allow herself to tremble. Weeks went by from Winston's departure. In a modest drawing room lit by afternoon sun, Clementine sits in an armchair, a stack of letters on her lap, envelopes bearing field postmarks from France. Around her, the house is quieter than usual. The children play in the nursery upstairs. She unfolds the latest letter, Winston's bold handwriting stretching across pages stained with trench mud.
My dearest Clemmy, the guns rumble ceaselessly as I write this by candlelight in my dugout. It has begun to rain, turning the trenches into rivers of sludge. Yet my spirits are high. Leading these brave lads, I feel alive and useful again. Today, I ventured to the forward post, perhaps unwisely, but I had to see things with my own eyes. Bullets cracked overhead as I peered into no man's land. It reminded me of other days and other battles. Today, under charcoal skies, I trudges through ankle-deep mud, greeting the lads of my battalion with a pat on the back or a jovial quip. I stood atop a parapet in the drizzle, binoculars in hand, refusing to flinch even as an artillery shell bursts in the distance. The men around him draw courage from my fearlessness. They have taken to calling me the captain of our tribe. They smile to see their colonel sharing the same reign and risk. It humbles and heartens me. I finally feel I am atoning, if only in a small measure, for past mistakes.
As Clementine reads the letter, her face, her eyes glistening with tears of pride and relief.
Know that I am safe and well, and that your faith in me was my guiding star through the darkest night. I live now to make you proud and to serve our country with honor. Until we meet again, my love. Yours, Winston.
Clementine presses the letter to her heart. In this quiet moment, she feels both relief and loneliness. She has held the home front together alone for months, managing the household, looking after their 3 young children, all while dreading the telegram that, thankfully, never came. Finally, after a few months, a knock sounds at the front door. She rises, intuition flaring. The door opens. Winston steps over the threshold in uniform, travel-worn and thinner, but very much alive. She stands in the foyer, hands clasped tightly as if unsure this is real. For a heartbeat, husband and wife simply stare. Then she gives a joyful cry and rushes forward.
Winston.
He drops his kit bag just in time to catch her as she throws herself into his arms. They embrace fiercely. He closes his eyes, breathing in the scent of her hair, murmuring thanks to whatever providence brought him safely home. She pulls back slightly, studying his face, the fine new lines around his eyes, the streaks of gray at his temples, whispering, emotional,
Thank God you are back.
He responded softly.
I kept my promise. I stayed until they were clamoring for me to return.
He was right. As they stood in the entrance, on the table in the background there was a neatly stacked pile of newspapers, headlines now praising Churchill's bravery at the front and calling for his expertise back in government. News of his voluntary service in the trenches, crawling through mud under enemy fire despite being a high-born member of Parliament, has begun to turn the tide of public opinion. The once disgraced architect of Gallipoli is now seen as a man of honor who shares the common soldier's burden. Her bold plan is bearing fruit. Grinning through tears, she said,
They missed you, you know. They needed you, even if they would not admit it at first.
With modest shrug, he responded,
Perhaps a bit. Lloyd George sent word requesting my counsel not long ago. It seems I have been unexiled.
She laughs in relief. Prime Minister Lloyd George did more than request counsel. He has offered him a post in the new government.
I always knew they could not do without you. Now it is your chance to truly rebuild.
Solemnly, cupping her face in his hands, he said,
It is our chance, Clemmy. I would not have survived out there in France or back here in politics without you. Your strength carried me through.
She smiles and leans into his palm. In her heart, she knows this to be true. They are partners in every sense. The next few years unfold in a blur of achievement. Winston, clad in ministerial robes, strides confidently into the House of Commons, once again Minister of Munitions in 1917, overseeing the shell factories that equipped the armies to final victory in the Great War. Clementine stands in the gallery above, discreetly dabbing a tear of pride as she watches him deliver a rousing speech to Parliament, urging support for the troops. The war ends in 1918 in Allied victory. They join the celebrating crowds on Whitehall, her gloved hand tucked proudly into his arm as church bells peal across London. Between 1919 and 1921, he takes on new cabinet roles. She expertly hosts dinners and salons at their home, charming political allies and skeptics alike. She has transformed herself into the perfect statesman's wife, gracious, astute, with a steely intellect behind warm hazel eyes. Ministers and military officers seek her opinion in hushed conversations over tea. She deftly shapes these encounters to rebuild Winston's standing. Then comes 1922, a setback. He loses his seat in an election upheaval. That night, he returns home, tossing his campaign rosette aside in frustration. She consoles him, saying, "Doors will open again." And indeed they do. In 1924, he wins a new seat and soon rises to become Chancellor of the Exchequer. On Budget Day 1929, Winston, in top hat and morning coat, Clementine in elegant pearls, walk side by side to Parliament as cameras flash. They appear the very picture of Britain's power couple. Picture this scene. It is late afternoon in the Treasury office. Light slants through high windows. Winston paces behind the Chancellor's desk piled with ledgers. He is feeling anxious. Across from him sits Clementine, posture poised yet relaxed. She often comes by in the evenings to accompany him home, but today he is delayed by troubling news. He holds an early report of economic storm clouds, whispers of a crash overseas. He exhales heavily.
American markets are in disarray. If they fall, we will all feel the tremors. Terrible timing with elections nearing.
Leaning forward and speaking in a low, calming tone, she said,
"Whatever comes, we will manage. You have steered through worse, my love."
He gives a small nod, but his eyes remain distant. Outside, Big Ben tolls 6 o'clock. She stands and moves behind the desk, gently massaging his shoulders, trying to ease the tension knotting there.
"Time to call it a day. Come home. You need rest and a good dinner that is not cold Treasury tea."
He smiles wearily, patting her hand on his shoulder.
Yes, very well. Perhaps I can clear my mind for an hour or two.
They gather his papers and leave arm in arm, an image of unity. But as they step outside the office, a junior aide rushes up with breaking news. The government has fallen. The ruling party has lost its majority. An election is imminent. His face tightens. He knows what that means. She squeezes his arm supportively. It turns out his concerns about the election are not unfounded. On a drizzly autumn afternoon, at Chartwell Manor, their country home, he stands by the window, looking out at the rolling Kentish Weald. His posture is stiff, hands clasped behind his back. On a nearby table lies a radio set, silent now after announcing the election results. His party has been swept out of power. He himself has narrowly held his seat, but he is no longer chancellor. He is now a politician in opposition, a statesman without office. Clementine enters the room carrying a tray with 2 cups of tea, as if it were any ordinary day. She sets it down and approaches him quietly. Winston, without turning, mortared.
Defeat again.
He laughs hollowly.
How swiftly the wheel turns. One moment Chancellor of the Exchequer, the next just a backbencher the government can ignore.
She replied gently.
"Nothing is forever in politics, Winston. You know that better than anyone. Governments rise and fall. You will find your footing."
He shakes his head.
I wonder. I'm out of step with my own party on nearly everything these days. India, the economy, and what looms abroad.
She moves to stand beside him at the window. Outside, the gardens of Chartwell glisten with rain. His gaze is not on the view. It is turned inward, towards the future he alone seems to fear.
"You mean Germany?"
Hitler.
He said, nearly spitting out the name.
While we have been busy with budgets and ballots, that malignant little man has been arming Germany to the teeth. Mark my words, Clemmy. He is going to set the world on fire if we don't stop him. But no one wants to listen. They call me an alarmist. a warmonger stuck in the past.
His hand tightens on the windowsill. She studies his profile, lit by the gray light. She sees frustration and hurt. He has been mocked in Parliament for his relentless warnings about the Nazi threat. Many think him a relic, a man who learned nothing from the Great War. Touching his arm, she says,
Then make them listen. In time, they will see you are right.
He sighs, finally turning to face her.
And until then, I will spend our savings printing pamphlets and making speeches to a half-empty house. The papers ridicule me. The party leadership shuns me.
His voice drops.
This could be the end of my life in politics, and I will go down as a crank.
Her eyes flashes with determination.
No, I won't let that happen. We will do whatever it takes. If the party won't give you a platform, we will build one ourselves.
Over the next few years of the 1930s, Clementine indeed becomes his behind-the-scenes rock and strategist. She welcomes influential friends, charming them over dinner while subtly steering conversation to his concerns about German rearmament. Her persuasiveness wins a few converts, or at least donors to fund his independent research and travel to gather facts. Late at night, by the glow of his desk lamp, he hunches over drafts of speeches and newspaper articles. She stands behind him in her robe, reading over his shoulder. She points to a particularly sharp phrase he has penned, attacking the government's complacency, and says,
This line, it is true, but it may alienate some who are undecided. Perhaps tone it down just a touch, darling, so they will hear your warning, not just your anger.
Winston rubbing his forehead.
You are right, as usual.
He amends the line, managing a grateful smile at her.
My wise counsel, what would I do without you?
Then came the abdication crisis of 1936 that consumes the country. Winston's unpopular support for King Edward VIII further isolates him. Many friends drift away, yet she remains staunch, even if privately she questions his stance. She endures the cold shoulders at society dinners, the whispers that Winston Churchill is a has-been or worse. In bed on a sleepless night, she admits softly,
It's hard sometimes, Winston, being the lone voice, but I believe in you.
He squeezes her hand in the darkness. Then came 1938. As Hitler gobbles up territory unchecked, his voice gains a bit more traction. When Prime Minister Chamberlain returns from Munich proclaiming peace for our time, Winston roars in Parliament that Britain has suffered a defeat without war. He is shouted down by many. That evening at home, he storms into his study, face red with fury and despair. He finds Clementine there already, pouring him a whiskey. He throws his hat onto a chair angrily.
They booed and jeered, Clemmy. Parliament would rather believe Hitler's lies than face reality. Chamberlain was praised as a hero for handing Czechoslovakia to the wolves.
She offers him the drink.
And you were right to object. In time, they will realize it.
He drains the glass in one go, voice thick.
What if by then it is too late? What if the next time I speak, the panzers are already rolling?
He slumps into the armchair, looking older and more tired than his 64 years.
I sometimes wonder, my dear, am I truly a lone voice of reason, or just an old war addict tilting at windmills?
She sets the decanter down and kneels before him, much as she did in 1915 during another dark hour. She takes his hands, looking up into his stormy eyes.
You are no warmonger. You are a warrior for truth. You see clearly while others bury their heads in the sand. And because you speak up, Britain won't be caught wholly unawares. You have already moved the needle. Some are listening now, even if they won't say it aloud.
Winston murmurs.
Perhaps General is made. A few backbenchers.
Yes, and more will come, because that fire in you, it is needed. Mark my words, before long the country will realize you were right all along. And when that day comes, they will turn to you to lead them.
He gazes at her, a spark rekindling in his eyes. Her conviction is unshakable, and it buoys him as nothing else can. He nods slowly, squeezing her hands.
If that day comes, I pray I will be equal to the task.
Standing with a tiny smile, she says,
You will be. And I will be right there beside you, equal to my task of keeping you in line.
She winks, dispelling the gloom. He chuckles. The dark mood eased. He did not have long to wait for his prediction to come true. On September 3rd, 1939, as the bells of Westminster toll a somber peal, Clementine stands in a quiet corner of the Commons lobby, listening as her husband's voice echoes distantly from the chamber floor. He has been brought back into government as First Lord of the Admiralty on the eve of war. Over a scratchy radio speaker, Prime Minister Chamberlain's grave tone announces that Britain is at war with Germany once more. She closes her eyes at the words, steeling herself. A minister's wife nearby dabs her eyes with a handkerchief. Her jaw sets with resolve. She has lived through the dread of war before, and she will do so again. Moments later, Winston emerges from the chamber amid a knot of MPs. He spots her and comes to her side, saying quietly,
It has come at last. The fight we have both foreseen.
Looping her arm through his, voice steady.
Then go to the Admiralty and do what you must. The Navy has you back. I heard an amusing signal the fleet sent upon your appointment. Winston is back. There is confidence for you.
He raises eyebrow, touched by the compliment.
Did they? Ha! Then we shall give them reason to cheer. The Navy, at least, remembers my worth.
He attempts a light tone, but she can see the weight of responsibility settling on him already. At 65, he is no longer the young firebrand. This will be a far greater challenge than any before. She places a hand on his arm, stopping him for a moment in the busy hallway.
Promise me something, Winston.
Another promise? Very well.
When things get very hard in the months ahead, if you feel alone or doubt yourself, remember that I believe in you and that I am here, always.
My Clemmy, bedrock of my life, I shall carry your belief like a talisman.
They share a brief, heartfelt look. Then an aide rushes up. Urgent business at the Admiralty requires Winston's attention. With a final squeeze of her hand, he leaves into the fray of duty. She watches him go, back straight and head high. War has come, but she is ready to face it by his side. Prior to his declaration of war, Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain had returned from Munich, Germany, in 1938 to a thunderous welcome. He stood before a jubilant crowd at Heston Aerodrome, waving a piece of paper signed by Hitler, and declared triumphantly, "Peace for our time." Chamberlain believed Hitler could be trusted, that the nightmare of another world war had been averted, but within months that hope was dashed. Hitler violated the Munich Agreement, marched his armies into Prague, and eyed the rest of Europe. Winston's voice, once a lonely warning in Parliament that Munich was a total and unmitigated defeat for Britain, now sounded prophetic. The echoes of cheering at Heston gave way to anxious silence as Europe slid toward war. Lo and behold, war came in September 1939 when Germany invaded Poland. Yet through the autumn and winter, a strange calm persisted. Chamberlain's government, hesitant and cautious, fought no major battles in those first months. People whispered about the phony war, wondering when Britain would strike back at Hitler's aggression. Chamberlain, stubbornly optimistic, even joked that Hitler has missed the bus. Then dawn broke on April 9th, 1940, and that illusion of calm was shattered. Without warning, Germany invaded Norway and Denmark, unleashing blitzkrieg in the north. Britain scrambled to respond, sending troops to aid Norway. The campaign was chaos, ill-planned and undersupplied. British forces, outgunned and outmaneuvered, suffered humiliating defeats and were forced into a hasty retreat. What was meant to stop Nazi expansion turned into a disastrous fiasco in Norway. Back home, questions mounted. Why was Britain so unprepared? Who was accountable for this failure? The disaster in Norway was the final blow to Chamberlain's credibility. Once hailed as the man who kept war at bay, he was now blamed for failing to act decisively against Hitler's aggression. In newspapers and pubs, Britons fumed that their sons had been sent into battle with inadequate support. Chamberlain's own conservative colleagues muttered that Britain's war effort had been too little, too late. We cannot go on as we are. There must be a change. The stage was set for a showdown in the House of Commons. On May 7th, 1940, the House of Commons was packed shoulder to shoulder. For 2 days, members debated the conduct of the war in Norway. The air in the chamber crackled with tension. Neville Chamberlain rose to speak, his shoulders stiff, aware that his premiership hung by a thread.
I admit that errors were made in Norway, but this House must remember we are in the early days of a long war. I ask you to support the government as we continue this great struggle.
He pauses, attempting a confident smile.
I have friends in this House, and I call on my friends to support us in the lobby tonight.
A stunned hush falls. Many MPs exchange glances at Chamberlain's plaintive appeal. Friends? In this moment of crisis, his words sound tone-deaf. A furious murmur ripples through even his own conservative benches, the very friends he assumes will rally to him. One voice hisses, "Friends? Not anymore." Others scowl. By openly begging for loyalty, Chamberlain has only inflamed his critics. From the opposition side, Labour's leader Clement Attlee sits stern-faced. Beside him, Liberal leader Archibald Sinclair shakes his head. The most devastating response to Chamberlain's plea for support comes not from the opposition, but from behind him, from his own conservative ranks. Leo Amory, a conservative MP, rising slowly.
We are fighting today for our life, for our liberty, for our all.
His voice trembles with emotion, but it grows steadier as the chamber falls silent.
We cannot go on being led as we are.
He fixes Chamberlain with a sorrowful gaze.
I address you, sir. You have sat too long here for any good you have been doing. Depart, I say. Let us have done with you. In the name of God, go.
Amory's thunderous words, quoting Oliver Cromwell, hang in the air like a bolt of electricity. In the stunned pause, one can almost hear Chamberlain's breath catch in his throat. Members on all sides erupt in uproar, a mix of applause, gasps, and shouts of approval. The Prime Minister stands pale, lips pressed thin. He has just been publicly disemboweled by a member of his own party. The debate rages on into the night. More conservative rebels stand up to lambast their government's failures. An admiral in full uniform, Sir Roger Keyes, recounts the shocking story of ineptitude in Norway, insisting that Britain's fighting men were let down by poor leadership. Even former Prime Minister David Lloyd George, the elder statesman, rises from the backbenches to deliver a withering verdict. With a voice edged in scorn, he urges Chamberlain to sacrifice the seals of office and step aside for the good of the nation. By the second day, it is clear this is no ordinary debate. It is a political execution. The opposition calls a vote of no confidence in Chamberlain's leadership. Cabinet ministers sink in their seats, grim-faced, as tellers count heads in the division lobbies. When the results come, gasps ripple through the Commons. The government has a majority of only 81. Chamberlain has technically survived his Conservatives' eke out 281 votes to the opposition's 200, but it is a hollow victory. Over 40 of his own Tory MPs voted against him, and dozens more abstained rather than support him. A government that should command a comfortable 200-plus majority has been slashed to shreds. Chamberlain's face is ashen as he departs the chamber to cries of "Go, go!" from the opposition benches. Even some conservatives join the chorus. In the central lobby, a group of anti-Chamberlain MPs break into a chorus of "Rule, Britannia," defiant and jubilant. The Prime Minister, usually so erect and brisk with his umbrella in hand, walks slowly, head bowed. In the privacy of the corridors, one of his aides offers a comforting word, but Chamberlain raises a hand to silence him. He knows what must come. The will of the House and even his own party has turned against him. The next morning, Neville Chamberlain sits at the long cabinet table in the Prime Minister's residence. The curtains are drawn. The room is dim despite the midday sun. Outside, the news of his near defeat in Parliament is headlined in every paper. Inside, he convenes a final, fateful meeting with a few senior figures. Across from him sit two men, Winston Churchill and Lord Edward Halifax, the only two realistic candidates to take his place. For a long moment, none of them speak. The silence is broken by the muffled rumble of London traffic and the rustle of Chamberlain's resignation letter lying on the table, half written. Quietly, looking down at his hands, he finally breaks the silence.
The opposition parties have made their position clear. They will not serve under me in a national government.
He clears his throat, the words catching.
They would, however, support a coalition under another conservative leader. In the interest of national unity, I have decided I must resign.
Halifax and Churchill exchange a tense glance. They both know this moment was inevitable after last night's debacle. But who will inherit the burden of leadership is another matter. Chamberlain, exhaling wearily, continues.
The question, then, is whom His Majesty should ask to form the next government.
His gaze drifts to Halifax, the Foreign Secretary.
Edward, you are the King's preferred choice, and I believe the country would accept you.
Lord Halifax, tall, gaunt, the very picture of an unruffled aristocrat, shifts uncomfortably. He has been Chamberlain's close ally and was once seen as the obvious successor. He fiddles with a piece of paper before him, then speaks, his voice low and measured.
Neville, I am deeply honoured by your confidence.
He pauses, choosing his words carefully.
However, I must ask you to reconsider. These are grave times, war times, and the Prime Minister should sit in the Commons, leading from there. As you know, I am in the House of Lords. It would be constitutionally difficult for me to steer the ship of state from outside the Commons.
He folds his hands.
Moreover, to speak candidly, I have no taste for such high office at this juncture.
His eyes flicker toward Churchill for an instant. Everyone in the room understands his meaning. Halifax, nicknamed the Holy Fox for his sly humility, has no appetite to lead Britain in war. Perhaps he lacks the fire or the desire to challenge Hitler head-on. Perhaps, deep down, he doubts he could rally the nation. And so, Halifax, the king's favored candidate, effectively bows out, but continues speaking with a faint smile.
Winston is the man for this hour. He has the energy, the support of the House, and, if I may say, the fighting spirit needed now.
Churchill, who has been sitting in tense silence, looks up sharply. The weight of Halifax's words sinks in. For years, he has been a lone voice prophesying danger, a backbencher condemned for his warnings about Hitler. Now, at 65 years old, he stands on the brink of the prize he has coveted, yet under circumstances grimmer than any he imagined. His gray-blue eyes flick from Halifax to Chamberlain. Softly clearing his throat, he replies tightly in response to Halifax's suggestions.
If His Majesty were to summon me, I would of course do my duty.
He manages a wry smile.
I will confess, I have often disagreed with you, Prime Minister. But if I am called, I shall endeavour to lead as loyally as I have served.
Chamberlain nods, a mixture of relief and sadness in his lined face. There is a tacit understanding now. Winston Churchill will be Britain's next Prime Minister. Outside the cabinet room, the halls of Downing Street echo with hurried footsteps. News is spreading that Chamberlain's resignation is imminent. The gears of constitutional process are already turning. Just then, A knock comes on the door. An aide enters, face pale.
Prime Minister, forgive the interruption. News from abroad. Germany has invaded Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg this morning.
The three men stare at the aide, absorbing the shock. It is May 10th, 1940. Even as Britain grapples with its leadership crisis, Hitler has unleashed a lightning war in the West. The Low Countries are being overrun, and France itself is now in the Nazi war machine's sights. After a long silence, Chamberlain said,
Thank you. Leave us, please.
The aide departs. Chamberlain closes his eyes. The timing could not be worse, or perhaps, strangely, it could not be more fitting. Britain is truly in peril now. He straightens in his chair, resolve hardening.
This settles it. The country must have a new leader immediately. I will go to Buckingham Palace at once.
He stands, then pauses to look at Churchill.
Winston, you should prepare yourself. I shall advise the king that he send for you.
Churchill gives a solemn nod. His heart pounds with a mix of apprehension and fierce determination. The mantle of leadership is about to fall on him. As Chamberlain departs to tender his resignation to King George VI, Churchill reaches for his coat and hat. Halifax offers a faint, encouraging smile and clasps Churchill's arm.
The nation is depending on you, Winston. Give Hitler hell.
He manages a thin grin.
I intend to, with God's help.
In the hallway, as Churchill moves to leave, he catches sight of a telephone on a side table. Impulsively, he picks up the receiver and dials his home. After a few rings, a familiar, warm voice answers.
Clemmy here.
It is his wife, Clementine.
My dear, it seems the moment has come. Chamberlain is resigning. They mean to have me take his place.
I'm ready for it, if you are.
Her voice carries both pride and comfort across the crackling line.
The children and I are with you, whatever storms may come.
He breathes a little easier. In this tumultuous hour, her unwavering support is the anchor he desperately needs. After the call with his wife, he leaves the Prime Minister's residence for the palace. Under slate-gray skies, his car rumbles through the gates of Buckingham Palace. Outside, Londoners glance up at the sound. Some already suspect the news that will soon break. Inside the palace, King George VI waits, troubled thoughts weighing on him. The king does not wish for Churchill to become prime minister. He much prefers the steady, reassuring Lord Halifax, with whom he enjoys a personal friendship. In fact, George VI even gave Halifax a key to the palace gardens, a token of trust and camaraderie. By contrast, Churchill unsettles the king. The monarch recalls how Winston had been a supporter of his wayward older brother, Edward VIII. During the abdication crisis, a stance that earned Churchill distrust in royal circles. And Churchill's impulsive, bulldog personality makes the king uneasy. Is this fiery man truly fit to lead Britain in its darkest hour? There is a knock at the door. An equerry announces Mr. Churchill. The king steels himself.
Send him in.
Churchill enters the ornate room, removing his hat. For a second, he hesitates in the doorway. The king, slight and reserved, stands by the fireplace. This is the moment Churchill has dreamed of for decades. Yet he feels the weight of it keenly. He bows.
Your Majesty.
Mr. Churchill, I have just accepted Neville Chamberlain's resignation.
He pauses, inhaling slowly.
I suppose you know why I have asked you here.
Your Majesty, I will serve in whatever capacity you deem fit.
The king's cool blue eyes study the man before him, stocky, with a bulldog jowl and tired eyes that nonetheless gleam with determination. He speaks carefully, each word measured.
I would like you to form a government in my name.
There, it is done. The crown's commission given.
Can you do that, Winston?
I can, sir.
He steps forward.
I would form a coalition, all parties united, to face the enemy. I have already spoken with Mr. Attlee. Labour will join with us.
The king gives a slight nod. He is aware of the political mechanics. Chamberlain had informed him that Labour and Liberal leaders would serve under Churchill, but refused to serve under Chamberlain any longer. Still, George VI hesitates, old doubts lingering. He remembers his own words to his mother just days ago.
I'm not sure Winston has the judgment or temperament for this.
But Halifax has declined the post, leaving him no alternative.
You understand, Mr. Churchill, this comes at a grave hour. The Germans are advancing. Paris itself may be threatened. You have my support and my prayers.
I shall need both, sire.
He kneels on one knee, as is custom, to kiss the monarch's hand. As Churchill rises, the king offers a thin, tentative smile, formality melting into a touch of warmth. Despite his reservations, George VI sees the burden of responsibility now resting on Churchill's shoulders. This stocky bulldog of a man is Britain's last hope.
Good luck, Prime Minister.
The words resonate in Churchill's ears. Prime Minister. At long last, he has reached the summit of power, just as the abyss of war opens below. With a deep bow, he backs out of the room. Within the hour, official announcements are made. Winston Churchill has been appointed Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, effective immediately. Outside, as his car departs the palace, a few onlookers tip their hats or wave. Newsboys already shout the headlines on street corners.
Churchill new Prime Minister. Chamberlain out.
Hours later, he pushes open the door of his home, weary to his bones. It is past midnight. Technically, he is now Prime Minister, but there has been no time for pomp or celebration. Britain is mobilizing for the German onslaught in the West, and he has spent every minute since leaving the king huddled with officials forming his war cabinet. The weight of responsibility presses on him heavier than ever. Clementine is waiting in the lamplight of the study, a robe around her shoulders. As he enters, she moves toward him silently. He manages a small smile. Here, in the privacy of their home, he allows his exhaustion to show.
It is done, Clemmy. I have kissed hands with the king. I am Prime Minister.
She steps closer and gently straightens his tie, which has gone askew.
I am so proud of you, darling.
Her eyes glisten, but her tone is steady.
And I know you will lead Britain with courage.
I have waited for this moment all my life, and now that it is here, I wonder if I shall be equal to it.
He sinks into an armchair heavily.
This task, this burden is unlike any other. We stand alone against Hitler. The whole weight of the war rests upon our shoulders now.
Clementine kneels beside him and takes his hand.
Listen to me, Winston. You were made for this moment.
She speaks softly but emphatically.
Every trial you have endured, every battle, political or military, has prepared you. You have said it yourself. All your past life was but a preparation for this hour.
He looks into her eyes, remembering the grand words he had penned in his youth and repeated to himself in his darkest moments.
I did feel that today at the palace with the king, as if I were walking with destiny.
His voice is hushed, almost a whisper.
I felt a surge of certainty that all my past has been but a preparation for this moment.
Her face softens. She knows this feeling in her husband, a mix of humility and destiny that has always driven him. She also knows the shadows that lurk, the self-doubt he seldom shows others, the black dog of depression that sometimes nips at his heels. Tonight, however, she sees a light in his eyes that reassures her. Smiling, she said reassuringly,
Then trust that feeling, and trust yourself as I trust you.
She squeezes his hand.
But Winston, promise me one thing.
Anything, my dear?
She gently chiding him.
When things grow difficult, and they will, more than either of us can imagine, don't let the weight of it harden you. You know how you can get impatient, rough, even overbearing at times. Be mindful of those around you who are trying to help. They will be as tired and anxious as you. Please be kind to them.
He opens his mouth in protest, then chuckles softly. recognizing the truth in her words. She has always been his best critic and guide. She alone can speak to him so frankly. Indeed, only weeks from now she will write him a private letter warning him of a rough, sarcastic, and overbearing manner she has observed, urging him not to alienate his colleagues. He knows that her keen insight and honesty are his secret weapon to keep himself grounded. So, he nods. Then he says, while smiling wearily,
I promise to try, Clemmy. Do let me know if I roar too loudly at some poor soul.
Oh, I shall. I will be on the lookout for any unwarranted roaring.
She stands and presses a kiss to his forehead.
Now, you must get some rest. You have a country to rally in the morning.
He had not realized how exhausted he was until that moment. As she guides him toward their bedroom, he casts one last glance at the papers strewn across his desk. Maps of the Low Countries, urgent cables from France, lists of parliamentary supporters. The responsibility is immense, almost crushing, but he straightens up, feeling a steadiness within. With Clementine by his side, he knows he does not bear the burden alone. That night, he sleeps only a few hours, but when he does, it is the sleep of the saved and thankful, as he would later write. In the darkness, as Britain awaits the German onslaught, the new Prime Minister feels a profound sense of relief mingled with resolve.
At last,
He reflects silently.
I have the authority to give directions over the whole scene.
He knows the ordeal that lies ahead will be dire. There will be defeats and despair before victory can be won. Yet in that moment, he is unafraid. In the silent hours past midnight, she watches him sleep, his features calm. She knows better than anyone the heavy burden he carries and the demons he must fight both within and without. Gently, she places a hand on his shoulder, a silent vow that she will face this trial with him every step of the way. The partnership between them, forged over decades of public life's ups and downs, has never been more daunting. As dawn breaks on May 11th, 1940, Britain has a new prime minister who by all accounts was never meant to be. Winston Churchill, the lone voice in the wilderness, has become the leader destiny demanded. The road ahead is dark and uncertain, but in that darkness a light has been kindled. The defiant flame of Churchill's spirit, fed quietly by the devotion of Clementine at his side. Together, they will weather the coming storm. Britain's darkest hour has found its leader, and he will not face it alone. As she predicted, there are indeed difficult times ahead. By the summer of 1940, the Blitz begins. These are some of the darkest days in British history, as night after night German bombers rain fire on London. Behind Winston's defiant speeches, "We shall fight on the beaches, we shall never surrender," that echo through crackling wireless sets in every British home, inspiring a nation, lies exhaustion and strain, soothed by Clementine, who must ensure he remembers to eat and sleep. Picture this scene in the Downing Street kitchens in late September 1940. In the flicker of candlelight, electricity knocked out by raids, she oversees staff preparing tea and sandwiches at 2 a.m. The all-clear has just sounded after a long Luftwaffe raid. Smoke and dust hang in the air. She loads a tray and carries it down into the underground war rooms beneath Whitehall, where Winston and the military chiefs have spent the night directing defenses. She enters the map room softly. Winston sits slumped in a chair, tie askew, eyes bloodshot behind his signature glasses. Before him, a sprawling map of Britain is peppered with pins marking that night's destruction. He is quietly dictating casualty figures to a stenographer, his voice heavy with sorrow. She pauses in the doorway, taking in the scene. Her husband, bearing the weight of every bomb that fell. She steels herself and steps forward with a bright smile.
Gentlemen, a short adjournment. I bring sustenance.
The tired generals break into relieved grins as she arrives like a breath of fresh air. Even Winston musters a grateful smile. She sets the tray down and fixes him a cup of strong tea exactly how he likes it. He accepts the cup.
My angel, even underground in the small hours you find me.
Where else would I be?
She brushes brick dust off his shoulder lightly and lowers her voice.
How bad was it tonight?
Rubbing his brow, he whispers.
Bad. East End's aflame. Dozens of fires. Casualty reports still coming.
His voice breaks slightly.
Whole families buried.
She places a hand on his back, gently massaging the tense muscles. She knows he feels each loss personally. She will not let despair take him.
Listen to me. Tomorrow you will go out there and walk among the rubble with them. Let them see that their Prime Minister stands with them. It will give them heart.
He nods, murmuring.
Yes, I shall. We will go together, you and I.
Of course. And tonight, before you rest...
She eyes the generals pointedly, then looks back to Winston.
You must send those men home to their beds. The Blitz may come again tomorrow night, and they will need their wits sharp.
The generals exchange sheepish smiles, knowing the real high command. Mrs. Churchill has spoken. Winston hides a proud smirk. With a few words, he adjourns the session until morning. The men file out, offering her respectful nods. Once they are gone, she turns back to Winston.
Now, dearest, it is your turn. Eat something, then try to sleep, even a few hours.
In mock protest.
Sleep? In this racket? Impossible.
She responds archly.
I have had earplugs fetched for you, and a spare pair for your snoring.
He chuckles, and she savors the warm sound, proof that his spirit remains unbroken. In the midst of war's fury, these small moments of tenderness between them are lifelines. A week later, in a bomb shelter in the East End of London, dozens of people huddle in the underground station turned air raid shelter, the air thick with the smell of damp concrete and too many bodies. Clementine is here without fanfare, having insisted on inspecting conditions. By the dim glow of oil lamps, she moves among the mothers soothing crying babies, the elderly bundled in threadbare blankets. She listens to their worries, holds their hands. A small girl offers her a picture she has drawn of a plane with X's for bombs. She crouches and praises the artwork as tears prick her eyes. It is cold in this shelter, and there are not enough bunks. Many families lie on the hard floor. That night, back at Downing Street, she finds Winston in his study poring over reports. She closes the door, her face set in determination.
Winston, we must do better for the people in the shelters. It is ghastly what I saw today. Children shivering all night, parents with nothing but concrete to sleep on.
He looks up from his papers.
What do you propose, Clemmy?
I propose we prod your ministers into action. I have already drafted letters requesting immediate installation of stoves for heat, proper sanitation, and cots, or at least 2 million folding beds for distribution to shelters. Also, regular milk rations for the infants.
She brandishes a sheaf of notes that reads,
requesting immediate installation of stoves for heat, proper sanitation, and cots, or at least 2 million folding beds for distribution to shelters. Also, regular milk rations for the infants.
He blinks, then breaks into a proud grin.
Already drafted, you say? Splendid. I will see that the Home Secretary and Minister of Health get these at once.
She softens, placing a hand on his shoulder.
I will deliver some of them myself if I must. This home front spirit is our most powerful weapon. We cannot let it falter due to neglect.
In the following weeks, at her relentless urging, conditions in the shelters markedly improve. Government lorries unload bedding and supplies. Makeshift canteens serve hot tea on cold nights. Word quietly spreads of Lady Churchill's involvement. Many begin calling her the First Lady of the Blitz, a steadfast presence rallying morale alongside the Prime Minister. As the pressure of the war weighs heavily on him, she notices a hard edge in him. He slams his fist and snaps at his generals for minor mistakes. She also notices a young secretary scurry out of his office in tears after one of his scoldings. Her concern grows following these incidents. She knows stress is gnawing at his temper. One Sunday afternoon at Chequers, the Prime Minister's country residence, she sits at the writing desk by the window. Before her lies a half-written letter in her neat script, a candid but loving letter to him. She rarely criticizes him openly. She hesitates, pen hovering, then continues writing with resolve. When she is finished, she places it on his desk, on top of the pile of messages. Later that evening, when he goes into his office, he sees the letter. Recognizing the writing on the envelope, he quickly opens it. Perplexed but curious, he adjusts his glasses and begins to read. The letter reads,
My darling Winston, I hope you will forgive me, but I feel I must tell you something. One of your devoted friends came to me recently with heavy heart. He spoke of a danger, that you are perhaps not as kind as you used to be.
Winston's eyebrows rise, a touch of surprise and indignation crossing his face. He reads on.
There is talk that your colleagues and staff feel afraid, even deeply hurt, by your rough, sarcastic tone and overbearing manner. Your private secretaries, I'm told, have resigned themselves to bitter rebukes like schoolboys, and they scurry away shrugging after each encounter. Higher up, if someone dares suggest an idea in a meeting, you are so contemptuous that soon no ideas, good or bad, will be offered at all. This news astonished and upset me, because ever since I have known you, those who work with you have loved you. No doubt it is the strain, I said in your defense, but dearest, something is different. My Winston, I must confess I too have sensed a change, a deterioration in your manner. You are not so kind as you used to be. I write this with a heart full of love and pride in all you are achieving. But please, I beg you, be kinder. Leadership is heavy, yes, but you need the loyalty and love of your team. Remember the spirit of generosity and courtesy that I know lies within you. Bring it forth now, when you and Britain need it most. Your ever-loving Clemmy.
By the time he finishes reading, his hand trembles slightly. He presses the letter to his chest and closes his eyes, absorbing the hard truth delivered by the person he trusts above all. He takes a deep breath, and he rings for her. She enters quietly, unsure of his reaction. He walks to her and enfolds her in a tender embrace and says,
Thank you for having the courage to tell me what I needed to hear.
Relieved, patting his back.
Always. I only ever want you to succeed, Winston, as a great leader and a good man.
He pulls back to look at her.
With you by my side, how can I aspire to be anything less?
After that day, a subtle change comes over his dealings with those around him. He softens his tone, remembers to thank his staff, even shares the occasional joke to lift spirits. His team's admiration, which had been strained, blossoms anew. Her private counsel has averted a potential rift in his inner circle at a critical time. The war rages on, with triumphs and disasters. Through it all, she remains his compass and shelter. During the darkest days in 1942, when news from the fronts is grim, Tobruk fallen, Singapore lost, he returns home past midnight, shoulders sagging. She waits up for him without fail, a warm drink and a warmer embrace ready. She listens as he mutters about setbacks, and she reminds him of past victories.
Remember how hopeless it seemed before Alamein turned the tide? Dawn will come.
Her steady optimism shores up his own. In 1943, she herself undertakes diplomatic missions at his behest. She travels to the United States to tour and speak, a gracious envoy boosting Anglo-American solidarity. In Quebec, she stands beside him at a wartime conference, charming President Roosevelt and U.S. generals alike with her wit. In 1944, as Allied forces land in Normandy on D-Day, she insists on visiting hospitals and munitions factories, personally thanking nurses and workers. She writes nearly every day to him whenever they are apart, brief notes of love or funny anecdotes about their grandchildren, anything to brighten his burdens. When he returns from tense meetings, she draws him out to their garden to paint or feed the swans, small reprieves to guard his health and sanity. A rare quiet evening in Downing Street on Christmas Day, 1944, a small Christmas tree twinkles in the corner of the residence. He sits in a wing chair by the fire, eyes closed. She watches him from a sofa, noting how much older he looks under the lamplight, the deep lines, the pallor from too many sleepless nights. He is nearly 70 now, and 4 years of war leadership have taken their toll. Gently, she rises and places a hand on his shoulder. His eyes flutter open.
Darling, you are dozing. Why not go to bed properly? It is past midnight.
He groggy.
Was I? I was just resting my eyes, thinking of all that has to be done.
He attempts to push himself up, likely intent on returning to work. She firmly presses him back down.
It can wait until morning. The war won't be won or lost in the next few hours. Please, dearest, and me, take care of yourself.
He smiles up at her, placing his hand over hers.
As you wish, Clemmy, you are right, as usual. Join me. Even the Prime Minister can't refuse himself a Christmas gift of a full night's sleep.
She helps him up and they walk, arm in arm, toward their bedroom, a quietly loving couple who have weathered every storm together. On V-Day, on the balcony of Buckingham Palace, cheering crowds fill the streets below, euphoric in victory. Winston, flanked by the King and Queen, waves his hat to the masses. By his side stands Clementine, elegant and composed, her eyes shining with tears of joy and relief. She looks not at the crowd, but at Winston, the man who bore the nation on his shoulders and prevailed. Their eyes meet amid the flash of cameras. He reaches for her hand and squeezes it surreptitiously, a world of emotion in that simple gesture. She mouths silently.
Well done.
He nods, a lump in his throat, and returns his gaze to the adoring crowd. In that triumphant moment, she allows herself a brief respite from worry. The war is won. They have made it through the darkest hour. Little does she know, a different kind of trial lies just ahead, one that will test them in new ways. It was a sultry summer evening on July 26, 1945, just a few months after leading the country to victory against the Germans. She stands by the open window in the Prime Minister's residence, a cool breeze stirring the curtains. The sounds of distant cheering crowds drift in, but these cheers are not for Winston tonight. They are for the opposition party's victory in the general election. On a small table sits a radio, just fallen silent after announcing the shock result. His Conservative Party has been defeated. He is no longer Prime Minister. She turns away from the window to where he sits in an armchair, still in the rumpled suit he wore to watch the returns. He stares at the floor, a tumbler of brandy untouched in his hand. The room is heavy with disbelief. He whispers,
Thrown out by the very people I fought for.
She crosses to him swiftly and kneels at his side, just as she did in past crises. But this defeat is different. There are no enemies to fight, no immediate action to take. It is a blunt rejection, and his face shows a weariness beyond anything she has seen. He looks old tonight and terribly tired. She said softly but earnestly,
Winston, listen to me. This may well be a blessing in disguise.
His eyebrows flick upward at her choice of phrase. He manages a rueful half-smile.
If it is, it seems quite effectively disguised at the moment.
She smiles despite herself, relieved to see a glint of humor in his eyes.
I know it hurts. But think, you are 70. You have led Britain through the gravest ordeal in history. Perhaps fate is kindly giving you a chance to rest, to enjoy life.
His voice cracking replied,
Rest? What is a war horse to do when there are no more battles? I fear I shall rust away, unwanted.
She rises and gently kisses his forehead, then sits on the arm of his chair, arm around his shoulders.
You are never unwanted, not to me, not to your family, nor indeed to history. The country is simply weary and yearns for a change, but they will remember who kept them safe. In time, appreciation will come.
He leans into her embrace.
Maybe. But I had hoped to finish the job, to guide the peace, not just win the war.
My love, you have done more than any man could ask in one lifetime. Let others take up the burden now. You have earned a respite. We both have.
Her own feelings are bittersweet. Part of her is keenly disappointed. She had stood beside him at the pinnacle of triumph, and the sudden fall stings. Yet another part of her is quietly relieved. The war years took a grave toll on his health. She had lain awake many nights, listening to his labored breathing, fearing a heart attack or stroke under the strain. Perhaps now he can recover. They can simply be husband and wife again, not prime minister and consort under constant siege. She does not voice these thoughts, but she hopes this disguise truly hides a blessing. He sighs deeply.
What now then? What does one do the day after being prime minister?
With gentle cheer, she said,
Well, for a start, you will take a holiday, a real one with no red boxes or meetings. We will go somewhere warm and quiet. You will paint, I will swim, we will remember what sunshine feels like.
And after our holiday?
After that, you will write your memoirs of the war. The world ought to have your account of all that has happened. Who better to tell the tale?
He considers this, eyes focusing a bit. The idea of writing, shaping history on the page, appeals to the artist and author in him. She sees the spark and presses on.
You have always said you wanted to write a great work. Now is the moment. And, you will have an avid editor and sounding board in me.
He chuckles softly.
Indeed I do. My formidable champion and critic where need be.
He finally takes a sip of the brandy, color returning to his cheeks. She can tell he is beginning to digest the change. The fight is over, for now, but life goes on. She knows he thrives on purpose. If politics denies him, writing and reflection will sustain him. She stands and extends her hand.
Come to bed, darling. The future will look brighter in the morning.
He sets down the glass and allows her to pull him up.
As long as you are by my side, every morning holds promise.
Together they leave the study, lights dimming on the portrait of a weary but undefeated Churchill on the wall. She indeed orchestrates a restorative break. In late 1945, they travel to the Mediterranean, a long cruise on a friend's yacht. Under sapphire skies, he lounges in a deck chair with a canvas and paints, she at his side with a novel. They talk of everything and nothing, rediscovering a peace they have not known in years. He sketches her dozing in the sun, her face finally free of worry. When they return home to Chartwell, he begins dictating his war memoirs. She plays an active part. She sorts his copious notes and letters, offers feedback on drafts, and uses her own diary to remind him of details. On many evenings, he reads aloud a passage he has written, and she offers a nod or a pointed question, helping him hone the narrative. These memoir sessions rejuvenate his spirit, and he will go on to win the Nobel Prize in Literature for the finished work. Politically, she watches as he gradually heals from the blow of 1945. By 1948, he is energized again, giving speeches warning of a new threat, the Iron Curtain of Soviet domination. She supports him fully, though privately she wonders if he will ever truly slow down. The answer to her wondering comes in October 1951. She finds herself standing next to him on the steps of the Prime Minister's residence. He has just been asked by the king to form a government once more. He is Prime Minister again. As they pass through the famous black door, her smile fades a little. She helps him out of his coat, noting how he catches his breath. His age and the years of exertion are undeniable, now a slower step, a heavier reliance on her arm for support. As the door closes on the outside world, she turns to him and says quietly,
Winston, are you sure about this? You have nothing left to prove to anyone. You could have declined the office and let Eden take the helm.
He bristles a bit, but then softens seeing her worry.
My dear, the nation called me again. I could not refuse. There is still work to be done. Consolidating the peace, strengthening Britain.
He attempts a reassuring smile.
Don't fret, Clemmy. I know I'm not the vigorous man of 1940, but I've still got a few drops of the old lion's blood left.
Clementine manages a smile and pats his cheek.
Of course you do, and I will roar at anyone who doubts it.
Her tone turns lighter to mask her concern.
Now let's get you some rest. Prime Minister or not, it is past your bedtime.
He chuckles and allows her to shepherd him inside. Though she has misgivings, she will never publicly show them. She will support him to the last full measure of her strength. Then came a sweltering summer evening in June 1953. A small dinner party is underway in the dining room of the Prime Minister's residence to celebrate the end of the parliamentary session. She chats politely with a cabinet minister's wife when suddenly a loud clatter rings out. At the head of the table, Winston has dropped his spoon. His right hand twitches oddly, and he slumps back in his chair, face ashen. Guests spring up in alarm. She is at his side in an instant. She sees his mouth working but no words coming, and the right side of his face sagging. Her heart lurches. She recognizes the signs of a stroke. She is urgent but composed as she tells the guests.
Please remain calm. Winston is unwell. Doctor, we need a doctor now.
As someone dashes to call the doctor, she takes command. She kneels and cradles his head. His eyes are unfocused, one side of his body limp. She keeps her voice steady, though panic claws at her.
It is all right, dearest. I am here. Just relax,
she said to a staff member.
Fetch his doctor immediately, and help me get him to bed.
In the tense hours that follow, she oversees his care like a general commanding an operation. The stroke is serious. He is partially paralyzed and his speech slurred. She makes a fateful decision this will be kept secret from the public until he recovers. She instructs aides and doctors firmly. Not a word of this leaves the house. We will say he has a bad cold. She knows if news of the Prime Minister's incapacity leaks, he will be pressured to resign at once, humiliating him. She is determined to protect his dignity. In the days after the stroke, the room is dim, curtains drawn. He lies propped on pillows, pallid but conscious. She sits in a chair beside the bed, holding his hand. A nursing sister quietly takes his pulse and nods to her reassuringly before leaving them alone. He tries to speak, voice weak and a bit garbled.
I thought my number was up.
She squeezing his hand.
Hush, not yet. You just gave us all a scare.
With some difficulty he mumbles.
If word gets out, they will put me out to pasture.
She leans close, speaking softly but fiercely.
No one outside this room knows the extent of it. I have seen to that. Rest, focus on getting well. The government can manage a few weeks without you visibly at the helm. They think you have pneumonia.
A tear escapes his eye at her devotion.
You are watching over me, my guardian angel.
She, dabbing his tear with her handkerchief, said,
Always. Get some sleep now, Winston. I will be right here.
Under her vigilant care and the doctor's treatments, he slowly recovers. She encourages him through frustrating therapy sessions, helping him practice his speech and walk a few steps each day. She shields him from political stress, handling correspondence and briefing him only on absolutely necessary matters. Within 2 months, remarkably, he regains enough strength to resume limited work, and the public remains none the wiser about how close they came to losing him. Her protective maneuver has preserved not just his health, but his legacy on his own terms. In April 1955, as the morning light spills into his study, Winston, now 80, sits at his desk, gazing at a draft of his resignation statement. Clementine stands beside him, one hand on his shoulder. It is the day he will finally step down as Prime Minister of his own accord, rather than be forced out. She has subtly, and at times not so subtly, encouraged him toward this decision for months, citing his health and the fact that he has nothing left to prove. He sighs and signs the letter with a flourish.
That's that, then. My last act in office.
I am proud of you. Few have served as long or as well.
He rises slowly, turning to face her.
I hope you are prepared to have me underfoot at home, my dear. I fear I shall be a rather restless retiree.
Robbing his hair with a light laugh, she said,
Oh, I have a long list of things to keep you occupied. There are paintings yet to finish, those brick walls at Chartwell you never completed, and grandchildren to spoil.
Smiling, he replied,
You make it sound almost idyllic.
It will be. We will make sure of it.
They embrace warmly. There is relief in her eyes. He made it through alive, and now finally they can enjoy their twilight years in peace. His retirement years are indeed gentler, though not without trials. In 1958, they celebrate their golden wedding anniversary. At a family dinner, he toasts her.
My most brilliant achievement, as I have often said, was persuading Clementine to marry me 50 years ago.
She blushes and jokingly retorts,
Well, it seems I backed the right horse.
Laughter rings out, but those close to them see the mist in her eyes, a half-century of love and partnership, sealed with mutual respect. Around 1960, his health begins to decline rapidly. He grows forgetful, his once booming voice softens. She vigilantly monitors his diet and drink, even discreetly instructing the staff to water down his beloved whiskey. When he grows bored or despondent, she prompts him to take a turn in the garden or sit by the pond to feed the goldfish he adores. She knows he needs small joys to fill the void politics left. Then in 1962, he suffers another minor stroke. This time, out of public life, there is no need for secrecy. She nurses him through it. Her typical day is spent at his bedside reading aloud from the newspaper until he stirs, then helping him grasp a pen to practice writing his name again. She meets each setback with practical fortitude and gentle encouragement. Then she wheels him outside to sit under a grand oak tree, a blanket over his lap. He will gaze at the landscape before him, green lawns sloping down to a lake dotted with water lilies. An easel stands nearby with a half-finished painting of the same view. Though in her late 70s and slightly stooped, she stands behind him, hands on his shoulders. They enjoy the quiet sounds of birds and the distant laughter of great-grandchildren playing on a visit. On one such outing, as they soak in the sun and the scenery, his hand moves up to cover hers, his voice now soft and frail, but content.
Do you recall, Clemmy, that day in 1915 when you told me to fight on after Gallipoli?
She smiles in surprise.
I do. As if it were yesterday.
If I'd given up then, how different our lives would have been.
But you did not give up. You went and fought and came back stronger. And look at all that followed.
He nods slowly.
You always saw the best in me, drew it out of me, even when I faltered.
He turns his head slightly to look up at her.
I hope you know, Clemmy, how profoundly grateful I am. I have had great achievements, yes, but none greater than you.
Her eyes fill with tears, gently strokes his thinning hair.
Oh, Winston, my life has been an adventure by your side. Hard at times, yes, but I would not trade it for anything.
He looked at her with a faint grin.
Not even for a quiet life with a lesser man?
She laughs lightly through tears.
What other man could possibly have coped with me? We were meant to be a team.
They stay like this in peaceful silence for a long time, two souls bound by a lifetime of shared battles and devotion. The afternoon sun filters golden through the leaves, casting a halo over them. Then came January 24th, 1965. The bedroom is dimly lit and hushed. He lies in bed, eyes closed, breathing shallow. After a massive stroke a few days earlier, he has not regained consciousness, and the end is near. She sits beside him, clasping his left hand. She is calm, having kept vigil round the clock. A nurse stands respectfully at the door. The only sound is the ticking of a clock and her faint humming of an old tune, perhaps Rule Britannia, one he always loved. Her mind drifts through the years. She sees a young Winston stepping off a train in 1908, bowing to her at their first meeting. Winston in 1940, striding with bulldog determination. Winston smiling at her on that Mediterranean cruise. And now here, at the final chapter, she leans forward and presses her lips to his temple. She whispers, voice breaking,
"You can rest now, my darling. You have done all you were meant to do, and more. I am here with you, always."
A flicker of a frown passes over his brow, as if he hears, as if he knows she is there. Then, slowly, his labored breathing stills. The great chest that housed an indomitable spirit rises no more. Winston Churchill is dead. She bows her head, tears finally spilling freely, and kisses his hand tenderly. Outside, the news spreads, and the world's bells toll in mourning. But in this quiet sanctuary, there are just the two of them. She composes herself, stroking his white hair one last time. Even in death, he retains a dignified mien. She will see to it that dignity carries through the grand state funeral to come, the final salute to her beloved husband. A few days later, a state funeral is held at St. Paul's Cathedral for Winston Churchill. Mourners fill the great space. Millions more listen on the radio. As the coffin, draped in the Union Jack, is borne down the aisle, she walks behind with her children. Black netting covers her face, but through it she scans the immense gathering of royals, presidents, and ordinary citizens who have come to honor her husband. The hymn, Jerusalem, echoes. Her face is stoic, every inch the dignified widow, but her eyes betray profound grief and pride. She recalls Winston's own words about never surrendering. He never did, and neither did she. When the service ends, she lingers by the flag-draped coffin for a private farewell. With a trembling hand, she adjusts a small wreath of red roses, her final gift to him. She whispers softly, so only he can hear.
"Farewell, my love. You were magnificent. It was my greatest honor to stand by you."
In that moment, it is as if all the years roll back. She is again the determined young wife urging him to fight on at Gallipoli, the steadfast partner through triumph and catastrophe. Clementine Churchill gently lays her hand on the coffin, eyes closed, and imagines Winston's warm hand covering hers one more time. Though he is gone, the bond they forged, the life they built side by side, endures, immortal in history and in her heart. Clementine's story is not just history. It is a treasure trove of relationship wisdom we can use in our own lives. Her marriage to Winston, forged through crisis and triumph, holds powerful lessons about love, relationships, and personal growth. Let's distill 3 of those lessons now. As you listen, imagine how these principles might strengthen the relationships in your life. Lesson 1. Speak the hard truth with love. Great relationships are not built on eggshells. Clementine shows us the importance of honest communication, even when it is uncomfortable. Remember that letter she wrote to Winston? She did not scold or attack him. She spoke from the heart, with respect and affection, to tell him a hard truth. You are not so kind as you used to be. You are in danger of your being generally disliked. It took courage to write those words. She risked upsetting the man who held Britain's fate in his hands. But she knew that true love sometimes means lovingly calling out the one you love, holding up a mirror so they can be their best self. Her loving honesty did not drive him away. It drew him closer. He trusted her, precisely because he knew she would tell him the truth no matter what. In our own relationships, we often shy away from those hard conversations. We fear conflict or causing pain. But Clementine teaches us that silence can be more damaging. A gentle, truthful word at the right time can save a relationship from resentment or stagnation. It is about your intention. Her intent was to uplift him, not tear him down. She criticized the behavior while affirming the man she loved. That is a powerful skill. Your action. Is there a kind truth you have been holding back from someone you care about? Perhaps a concern you have swallowed for too long? Take inspiration from Clementine. Find a calm moment, lead with love, and speak up. It might be as simple as saying, I value our friendship, so I want to be honest with you. When you dare to kindly point out what no one else will, you are not being cruel. You are being a true friend and partner. As Clementine showed, truth-telling is an act of love, one that can spark positive change and deeper understanding. Lesson 2. Be each other's safe harbor. Every great relationship faces storms, times of fear, doubt, or grief. What keeps love strong in those tempests is the ability to be one another's safe harbor. Clementine was Winston's refuge when the war's weight became almost unbearable. Picture the eve of D-Day, June 5, 1944. The Allies are poised to invade Nazi-occupied France at dawn, a make-or-break moment of the war. Deep underground in the cabinet war rooms, Winston paces, exhausted, anxiety gnawing at his soul. Who do his aides call in the dead of night? Clementine, because they know only she can reach him at that moment. He sits at a strategy table littered with maps and reports, head in hands. She enters quietly.
Winston, it is nearly midnight.
She drapes a blanket over his shoulders.
You should try to rest, even just an hour or two.
He hoarse whispers.
How can I rest, Clemmy?
He looks up, eyes haunted.
In a few hours, thousands of our boys will be landing under German guns. Right now, as I sit here safe, they are in tossing ships, likely just as sleepless as I, praying they live to see tomorrow.
His voice breaks.
What have I done, ordering this monstrous invasion? So many young lives hanging by a thread I have cut.
She kneels beside him.
Listen to me.
She places a hand on his cheek.
You are carrying the weight of the world, my love, I know, but you are not carrying it alone. All these years, have we not borne every burden together? Let me share this weight now.
Her eyes are steady, filled with compassion.
I am so afraid, Clemmy.
I am too, but I have faith. Faith in the plan, in our soldiers, and in you. You have done all you can. Now you must trust others to do their part.
If it fails, if it all fails,
then whatever comes, we will face it side by side.
She takes his hand firmly.
You once told me you felt as if we were walking with destiny. Well, destiny brought us together as well. I am here, Winston, always.
Winston closes his eyes. He draws a deep, shuddering breath as he absorbs her words. Slowly, he nods and said quietly,
You give me strength, dear heart.
And you give me yours. Come, even an hour's sleep will put color in your cheeks. I will stay right here with you.
In that bunker on the eve of history, she was his safe harbor. She absorbed his fears without judgment. She offered comfort not by making false promises, everything will be fine, but by assuring him he was not alone, come what may. Sometimes that is all we need when we are drowning in worry, a loving presence to hold us, anchoring us until the storm passes. Think of someone you love facing a hard time, maybe a stressful job, an illness, a loss. You might feel helpless, unable to fix the problem, but Clementine shows that just being there wholeheartedly can be enough. A touch, a listening ear, a late-night cup of tea together in silence, these small acts say, your fears are safe with me. I am your port in the storm. When both partners provide this safe harbor for each other, the trust and intimacy between them deepens profoundly. Hardships will come, but shared, They won't capsize your boat. Instead, you will emerge stronger together. Your actions. The next time someone you care about is overwhelmed or hurting, resist the urge to immediately offer solutions or dismiss their fears. Instead, be present. As Clementine did, let them know you are by their side no matter how rough the sea. Say, I may not have answers, but I am here with you through this. Let your calm presence be the shelter they can always return to. In love, sometimes presence is the greatest present. Lesson 3. Stand united in purpose. The third lesson from Clementine's life is about the power of a shared mission. Love is not just about gazing into each other's eyes. It is about standing shoulder to shoulder, facing the world together. The Churchills did this literally in World War II, but the principle applies to any relationship. A relationship truly flourishes when both people commit to something greater than themselves and support each other's dreams. Clementine and Winston were utterly united in purpose. They both believed Winston was destined to save Britain, and Clementine devoted herself to that cause with all her being. She was not a passive bystander to Winston's career. She became an active partner in it. And importantly, Winston recognized and welcomed that. Here is a scene in their relationship that perfectly illustrates this point. It is late night, May 1945. World War II is ending in Europe. They sit together in his office, papers strewn about surrender reports, telegrams. Outside the window, faint sounds of distant celebration can be heard as London prepares for VE Day. He awed whispers,
It is over, Clemmy. The war in Europe is over.
He looks at a telegram with trembling hands.
The Germans are surrendering.
With tears in her eyes, she replied,
Over, I scarcely dared believe I'd see this day.
Nor I.
He turns to her, eyes full.
How did we ever manage? 5 years of agony?
She smiles softly.
Together. That is how...
Yes.
He takes her hands reverently together.
Clementine, my darling, this victory, your fingerprints are on it everywhere. I hope you know that.
She shakes her head modestly.
All I did was support you. You did the impossible.
I did nothing alone. Who steeled me when I was weak? Who kept the home files burning? Rallied the women? Soothed our allies? Even flew to Moscow at your age?
His voice cracks with emotion.
You did, Clemmy. All while loving a difficult man like me.
Winston.
He presses on.
Let me say this.
He cups her face lovingly.
You have been my anchor and my compass. There were days I would have given up truly, if not for you. General Ismay was right when he said the world would have been a very different place without you.
He swallows thickly.
And as for me...
He smiles.
Without you, I'd be nothing at all.
Her voice cavering.
Oh, Winston.
She rests her forehead against his. He continues.
From the bottom of my heart, thank you. You have made my life and any work I've done possible.
They embrace tightly, sharing a moment of profound gratitude and love. In that emotional exchange, we hear what a true team sounds like. Winston's words to Clementine carry a vital message for all of us. Recognize and cherish your partner's contributions. The Churchills had a shared purpose to serve their country in its darkest hour, and each played their part fully. She pursued her own projects, shelter improvements, fundraising, diplomacy that complemented his mission, rather than just waiting on the sidelines. And Winston, far from feeling threatened, honored her for it. He saw her success as his success, and vice versa. Not every couple will face a world war, but every couple can find a cause or goal that unites them. It might be raising a family, building a business, creating art together, volunteering in your community, or simply supporting one another's individual dreams. When you each feel that your win is my win, you unleash incredible synergy. Conflicts diminish because you are focused on the bigger picture. Trust grows because you know your partner truly has your back. Love deepens because you are appreciating each other's strengths daily. That is the beauty of standing united in purpose. The whole becomes far greater than the sum of its parts. Your action. Ask yourself, what mission or value do we share as a couple? If you have one, lean into it wholeheartedly. Be each other's cheerleader and collaborator. If you are not sure, have a heart-to-heart conversation. Explore what lights each of you up and how you can support those passions together. Maybe you start a small business side by side, or team up on a fitness journey, or volunteer as a duo for a cause you both care about. The key is to find your why as a team. When you do, like Winston and Clementine, you become unstoppable. You will weather challenges with a sense of solidarity and emerge closer than ever. Remember, two people aligned in purpose can change the world, or at least each other's world, in amazing ways. Clementine Churchill's life gives us these gifts: honest words spoken with love, unwavering support through life's storms, and unity of purpose that raises love into legacy. They are principles we can all practice starting today. Now, I invite you to join me in a brief reflective exercise, our Values Minute. This is a chance to slow down and internalize one defining value that guided Clementine Churchill: loyalty. Above all, Clementine's story is one of fierce, steadfast loyalty to her husband, to her ideals, to her country. Let's take a moment to experience that quality within ourselves. Sit comfortably, and if you can, close your eyes. Take a deep breath in and out. Feel the weight of your body supported by the chair or floor. Allow your mind to settle. Bring to mind the image of Clementine standing by Winston's side on that victory day, eyes shining with devotion. Feel the warmth of her loyalty, a loyalty that weathered decades of trials. She never abandoned her post in Winston's life, never wavered in believing in him. Through disappointment, through distance, through disagreements, she remained his constant companion, the steady flame in his window. Now, think of someone or something you are deeply loyal to. It could be a partner, a friend, a family member. It could even be a principle or cause that you hold dear. See that person or cause in your mind's eye. Focus on the commitment you feel toward them. Notice what loyalty feels like in your body, perhaps a warmth in your chest, an anchoring sensation in your belly, a resolve in your mind. As you inhale slowly, silently affirm to yourself, I am loyal. I cherish and support him, her, them, this with all my heart. Breathe out and release any doubt or fear around that commitment. Breathe in love, breathe out fear. Loyalty is not always easy. It sometimes asks for patience, forgiveness, or sacrifice. Clementine knew this. Feel her strength flowing into you now, the strength that allowed her to stay true even when times were hard. If your loyalty has ever been tested, acknowledge that. Perhaps there were moments of frustration or temptation to give up. See those moments and gently let them go with your exhale. Reaffirm your choice to stand by what and who you value. Now, visualize a small scene. You as the loyal presence beside your loved one or your cause. Maybe it is a late night when you offer a listening ear, or a time you defend someone who is not present, or simply years of showing up in little ways that build trust. See yourself in those acts of loyalty, steady, loving, true. How does it feel? Perhaps quietly powerful, like you are part of something bigger than yourself. Perhaps grounding, knowing your love provides safety and certainty. Let that feeling fill you. Inhale deeply once more, and exhale. If your eyes have been closed, gently open them now. Take this feeling of loyalty with you. Clementine's loyalty was her superpower, and it lives in you too. With each choice to support, to forgive, to remain present, you are honoring that value. You are creating a love that can stand the test of time, As we conclude, let's gently revisit the gems we have gathered from Clementine's journey. There is a poetry to these lessons, born from a lifetime of love and resilience. 1. Speak the hard truth with love. When something's wrong, have the courage to voice it kindly, as Clementine did. Loving honesty can be a catalyst for growth, drawing you closer instead of pushing apart. 2. Be each other's safe harbor. In storms of life, be the calm port in the tempest for your loved one. Shoulder the worry, dry the tears, sit through the long, dark night. In that refuge of understanding, fear loses its grip. 3. Stand united in purpose. Love is strongest not when it is two people gazing only at each other, but when they also look forward in the same direction. Find that shared mission, big or small, and walk hand in hand toward it. Together, you will move mountains that one alone could not. Each of these takeaways is like a shining thread. Woven together, they form a tapestry of enduring relationship, the very tapestry Clementine and Winston created. It was not always easy or blissful. It was real and tested by history, and in the end, it held fast. There is a line Winston once wrote to Clementine.
My greatest good fortune was to have you as my wife. No one else could ever have done for me all that you have.
That is the legacy of living these principles. You become irreplaceable to each other, a source of strength and inspiration that lights up not just your lives, but the lives of everyone around you. So, as you step back into your world now, carry a piece of Clementine's spirit with you. The next time you need to have a tough conversation, when your partner is hurting, or when you are working toward a dream together, remember her example. Let honesty, compassion, and unity be your guides. In doing so, you will be writing your own quiet heroism in the story of love. If Winston and Clementine's story resonated with you, you might be wondering, how can I find my own kingmaker or become one for someone else? Well, knowledge is power, and you have already taken time to listen and learn. If you are eager to go deeper, I warmly invite you to take the next step with us. We have developed a master class on the art of choosing the right partner, packed with insights and practical tips for values-driven singles. It is essentially a deeper dive into the kinds of principles we touched on today, with exercises and examples from not just the Churchills, but many other couples and psychology research. You can sign up by clicking the masterclass link below the video. It is a great way to continue this journey of growth and reflection. It is our way of helping as many people as possible build the foundations for healthy relationships. However, if you are thinking, I'm ready for that great relationship now, I just need guidance tailored to me, consider signing up for the Relationship Readiness Audit. This is a one-to-one session via Zoom with either me or a member of our coaching team, where we will help you assess where you are on your journey and how to attract a partner who truly aligns with your purpose and values. It is a chance to talk through your specific situation, maybe past patterns that haven't worked or challenges you are facing in finding the right person, and get personalized feedback and next steps. Spots are limited, so if this is something you want, book your spot by clicking the audit link below the video. I want to stress that these resources are there as support, not as a sales pitch. I genuinely believe that with the right tools and awareness, everyone can improve their odds of finding a fulfilling relationship. And the more people who form strong, values-based relationships, the stronger our community becomes, because healthy couples tend to do a lot of good around them. Look at the Churchills. Their relationship did not just elevate them, it allowed them to save the free world. That is the ripple effect of a healthy relationship. As we close, hold on to this thought. The story of Winston and Clementine reminds us that the right relationship does not hold you back. It helps you become more of who you are meant to be. So, imagine for a moment what having that kind of partner could unlock in your life. someone who sees your potential even when you doubt yourself, someone who is not afraid to call you out when you stray from your values, yet stands by you at your worst and celebrates you at your best. What doors might open for you in your career, your personal growth, your happiness? It is a beautiful vision, isn't it? And it is not just for fairy tales or famous people. It is something you can seek and build in your own life. We at the Kingmakers would love to help you get there. That is why we are here, to learn from these stories and apply the lessons. So, if today's episode spoke to you, consider taking the Relationship Readiness Masterclass or audit, or simply start with a small step, like having a heart-to-heart conversation with someone you trust about what you learned. Thank you, sincerely, for listening. I know it was a deep dive, and I appreciate you sticking with it. I hope you found it enriching and moving. If you enjoyed today's story, please subscribe to the podcast and share it with someone who would love this message. Maybe even share it with the Winston to your Clementine if you have found them, or with a friend who is searching for their own king or queen maker. On our next episode, we will dive into another incredible kingmaker story. I won't spoil it fully, but here is a hint. We will travel back in time to meet a woman who stood by her husband during his fight for civil right and carried on his dream when he was assassinated. I promise it is a fascinating tale with a very different context from the Churchills, but equally rich in lessons. Until then, stay true to your values. Keep believing in the power of relationship, and remember, you have the power to make those around you kings and queens, just as they do for you. Keep an eye out for those who are trying to do the same for you. This is Romeo Richards, your host at the Kingmakers podcast, signing off. Take care, and talk to you next time.